Okay, great. So my name is Faladay Bell. I am the Director of Community for Center for Communication. We're so excited that you guys are joining us for day 2 of our Women's Summit. So thank you for joining us here for our breakout workshop, You Got Next, Leveling Up in Your Career. I'm really excited. I want to introduce Netta Dobbins, who is the CEO of MIM Connect, who will be running this workshop. And so I'll just give her a brief introduction and then I'll let her take it away. So after finding herself the only Black person at the table in corporations, Netta decided to create an antidote to such workplace isolation. A natural community builder, she co-founded MIM Connect and grew it into the most engaged digital community and trusted resource hub for multicultural professionals. MIM Connect is an external support network that empowers those in marginalized communities to bring their whole selves to work and has been featured in Ebony, Pop Sugar, Afrotech, BET, and more. So now I will turn it over to Netta, who will expound way more on that, and let's get started.
Yay. Thank you so much for that introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to chat with you today. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this is going to be super engaging. I don't want to talk at you. I want to talk with you. So I would love to start by just hop in the chat. Let me know your name, where you're checking in from, and maybe your current major. Let's start there.
My name's Jessie Delfino, and I attend the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm an advertising major.
Hi, Jessie. And you guys can just drop it in the chat too. We don't have to unmute. But nice to meet you, Jessie. Trendsetter. Melanie, NYC. Hi, Melanie. Media, culture, and communication. Love it. Let me get 2 more. Kyra just graduated from Vanderbilt in Nashville. Hi, Kyra. Wait, let me find you so I can say hi and wave at you.
I'm here. It's actually Kira.
Hi. Oh, Kira, thank you. Hi. You enjoyed my beautiful city of Nashville.
Oh my God, I miss it.
And then last one, Rachel from PA graduated in May. Congratulations from Fordham, double major English and comm. Super excited to meet you all. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started. Can you see it? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see it. So once again, today's workshop is called You Got Next, Leveling Up in Your Career. And I want to start by just expanding a bit about who I am and how I got into the position that I'm in now. So my name is Netta Dobbins. I am the CEO of MIM Connect, but I never started out trying to be, the founder of a company. I graduated from Middle Tennessee State University with a degree in public relations, and I knew that I wanted to work in entertainment PR. So I stayed in Nashville for a while, worked with, some country musicians, and then realized I want to work with people on red carpets and some of the biggest names in Hollywood. So what I did was I moved to New York City. I took an unpaid internship to do so. And I learned that entertainment PR is not my jam. It was not my bag at all. I did not like it. So from there, I transitioned to advertising and marketing, primarily because I wanted to be in a more creative field where I got to help brands launch products and do some amazing things there. And I loved it. But during this whole, corporate America experience, what I realized was that while I had the opportunity to, work on a bunch of different clients, amazing clients like State Farm, Kaiser Permanente, AT&T, Clive Davis, PBS, a lot of things aren't even on here. And while I got to help them build out these multi-billion-dollar campaigns, when I looked around, I was always the only person of color, the only woman, the youngest person in the room. And I'm not even from here. So it's just so much that's kind of going on and contributing to my own professional development, right? So MIM Connect, which is my company, honestly started from me wanting to create a platform that could be a resource for professionals of color and women to really get together, network with each other, and find opportunities for us to advance together. So similarly to a support network. And today, MIM Connect is a thriving startup. It is my full-time baby now. While I still love marketing and strategy and do it on the side, you can catch me all the time doing MIM Connect speaking opportunities like this. So once again, about me, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a publicist. I was a publicist. I'm not doing that anymore. Marketer and strategist. So once again, like I said, I really want this to be engaging, right? And I want you to feel comfortable, not just sitting here and listening to me, but typing in the comment section, speaking up, etc. So before we get started, just a few things. One, engage on the socials. Tweet me, post quotables that I say. Follow me at Netta Dobbins or follow my company at Mem Connect. We will repost you. Two, write down any questions and save them for the end. We're going to have a lot of time for Q&A at the end. So I want to go through my entire presentation and we'll have that Q&A at the end. However, I do have my comment box open. So if there's anything that you agree to or you have a question about immediately, you can feel free to write it in there. I like to be hyped up during these conversations. So if I say something that you agree with, give me a emoji, give me a +1, give me a yeah, that's right, give me something that shows me that you're still there and that you're still engaged. And then the last thing is this is a safe space, right? During Q&A, some attendees may share specific examples or questions about their own journey when it comes to job hunting or things that they face. We want to make sure that we're not judgmental, that we give them space to speak, and that we all contribute, positive feedback to help them out. Okay, we good? If we're good, let me see another thumbs up so I know you're with me. Love it. Okay. I'm sure you're familiar with this GIF. This whole presentation is going to be GIFs because I want it to be interactive, right? So you're all, fresh, still in college, maybe freshly graduated, and you're entering into the workforce. And a lot of times you can feel like you're just left out on your own. Like, I don't know, I have my degree, but what's next? How do I really navigate this space? And it can definitely be isolating if you don't have the right resources or if you don't have the right support network. And then especially in 2020, when everything is a hot mess, right? We have COVID. Everybody's working from home. How do you meet new coworkers? How do you engage? How do you build real relationships? Systemic racism is a thing. If you're a person of color, there are different barriers that you're going to have to face once you enter into the workforce as well. Along with LGBTQIA community, there are challenges there as well. So I think with COVID and all of this muck being brought to life, a lot of companies are definitely more familiar with their shortcomings. And I think even though, once again, it's been a crazy year, there's an opportunity to really thrive and position yourself as a winner this year and next. Power. Black Panther, right? You have power, despite it might feeling like I need a job and I'm going to take the first job that I get, and I understand I've been there, right? But this year is all about understanding what are your skills, what do you bring to a company overall. And I know if you just graduated, it may be like, I don't really have 3 years worth of experience or anything just yet, but I have a social media channel where I'm posting all of these videos, and I have a TikTok with 12 million followers, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to figure out beyond, that structured corporate work experience, what else do you have and what experiences do you have that will make you stand out as a candidate in the workforce overall. So once again, today's discussion, all about how to win in the year of 2020 being a hot mess and making the marketplace or the workplace work for you. I'm going to explore a couple of themes throughout this whole presentation, okay? Once again, you're going to see a lot of GIFs, but we're going to start with theme topics. So the first theme is the power of choice. Once again, when you enter into the workforce, you're like, I need a job. I should have had, if you're an overachiever like me, you're probably like, I should have had a job before I graduated and now I'm behind and everybody's ahead of me and it just feels like I'm lagging. This is not a competition. I just want to point that out. Nobody's competing with anybody. And I know it kind of feels like that after you've just completed, 4 years of college and then 12 years of school prior to that, right? I think oftentimes you don't understand the choices that you have and the power in those choices, right? You don't have to take that first job that you get. You don't have to take a job where you're making barely minimum wage if you're living in a New York City or some major metropolitan area to survive. I think it's important to always apply to multiple opportunities And it's okay. Like, you don't have to immediately commit to a company just because you interview with them, right? Talk to as many companies as you can. Talk to them about not only salary but benefits. And I think when I first entered into the workforce, I had no idea to have these conversations, right? I've been on my parents' healthcare, like, I don't know, just give me something, I'm fine, right? But those are important conversations. What does the healthcare look like? What does the vacation look like? What are the real work hours, especially if you're working in the media industry? Some companies are going to require you to be always on. When I worked in advertising, I was actually a social media strategist, and social media does not stop, right? So I was getting texts at 2 o'clock in the morning about things, or I was in the office until 3 a.m. doing campaigns that launched the next day. So it really depends on, your personal capacity, how much work you're willing to put in, how happy you think you're going to be. And I also think that establishing that work-life balance in the beginning is super important, because burnout, especially in the media industry, especially in the advertising industry, is real. Second theme, add tax. I wish somebody would have told me this when I got my first job, because the reason I keep stressing don't take that first offer is because I took that first offer and I was so poor living in New York City my first year, right? Always negotiate, y'all. As women, too, we often don't negotiate. If they say, hey, there's this amazing opportunity and we're going to give you X, you're like, oh my God, I have a job. Yes. No, because likely when they approach you, they're giving you that bottom, right? Ask for a little bit more. Make sure you do your research. Look on Glassdoor, look on salary.com and see, okay, for this entry level position in this state, how much are people making? Research is so important, so that that you're not being undersold. And I want to also stress that there's still a wage gap, right, between men and women, and it's because we don't negotiate for ourselves and we don't call things out. So start early, start in the beginning of your career, so that as you navigate and as you grow, when you're a middle manager, you're not making $50,000 and wondering where all your colleagues are making 6+ figures. Okay. Theme 3. This is my last one too, I think. Manage up. And I put this just because I think it's just funny. A lot of times when you enter into the workforce, you get a boss and you're kind of just listening to what they tell you to do and you're following their path and you're kind of just sitting there waiting on instructions, right? But in order for you to develop, your boss has to really know what it is that you want and what you're looking for in growth, right? Oftentimes we just take those tasks. We're like, okay, I'm going to get promoted to the next level and I'm going to get promoted to the next level. And it makes sense in our heads, but if our bosses don't know exactly, what we're aiming for, how quickly we're aiming for it, if there's a salary we're aiming to reach, if there's a specific experience or a transition within the company we're looking to make, you're kind of on a path that's not yours, right? And then you'll eventually get stuck and you'll wake up one day and you're like, I've been doing this for 5 years and I want to do something different, i.e. me in public relations and when I switched to advertising. So I think it's always important to tell your boss your goals, whether that's internally at this company or eventually I want to be the CEO of my own company, so I really want to work in business development and sales or get insight into that while I'm also creating these campaigns for companies. Oftentimes employers want you to stay at their company, so they're willing to work with you and they're willing to understand what exactly it is that you need in order to develop as your own individual professional. So never be afraid to kind of voice that opinion and try as hard as you can to really establish a really good relationship with your boss, with any people you report directly to outside of your boss, and definitely with your colleagues. The more people know about your goals, the more they can help you. And then the last thing to remember, growth happens in a community. I don't know if you all are familiar with the show Community. It might be okay, so I'm getting some head nods. Great. So it was just see what I did there. But no, I think it's super important as you enter into the workplace to have your tribe of people who are there to kind of help you talk through different situations you're facing. So this is a great time to have those salary conversations. If you are going after, a social media coordinator role and you had a friend that did it ask them, hey, I'm going after this role, about how much do you make? I don't think we ask each other how much we make enough. And that's why we end up making a lot less than we're supposed to, right? I think also if there are situations happening inside of your office and you're like, I don't know if that's appropriate, or I don't know if that's correct. Let me, see if I'm crazy or if there's someone else who agrees with me, right? You need to have that soundboard, especially as a new professional, because there's so much you don't know. And you don't know that you don't know it until you're in those situations. So definitely try to surround yourself with people who, one, are at your level and kind of going through it with you, because they'll be, that trusted coworker, whether they work for you or not. But also connect with people who have been there, who may be a couple of years older, who can actually give you that advice and expertise so that you're able to level up quickly, more professionally. Well, that's it. I told you, super, super short. I had 3-4 themes that I wanted to hit on, and now I want to open it up for questions and see, what are you currently dealing with? What questions do you have? What emotions are you facing? And we can kind of talk through some of those issues. And be sure to follow me. Mem Connects, Netta Dobbins. Love it. And if you have questions, you can feel free to just unmute. It's a small group.
So you talked about it a little bit, but I recently graduated from Baruch College. I majored in communications/media. So are there any suggestions or piece of advice you can offer recent graduates or seniors entering the workforce, especially with our current situation in the pandemic and everything? I've done a couple of internships and volunteering work throughout my academic career, and actually now I'm part of like a mini magazine team, and so I do write content there, and I love it because it's volunteer work, but it's been hard to apply to internships and not hear anything back or like get rejected. So what do you think we should continue just trying, or what other options do we have?
Yeah, so the job hunting process is hard, just point blank period. And I think especially now because, companies aren't hiring as frequently. Companies aren't hiring as frequently. A lot of people have been laid off, and a lot of people who likely have more experience than you are maybe going after the same positions just so they can support themselves, right? So it's a very, very competitive space overall. My suggestions when it comes to job hunting is, one, sure, apply through the website or the ATS system, and that's the applicant tracking system, typically the online portal where you apply. But also find people that work at the company. There's nothing better than a referral from someone already there, right? Find someone who's working in a similar position, find the person you would be reporting to, find the HR person hiring for the role. Reach out and introduce yourself. LinkedIn is a great tool. If you don't have a LinkedIn, or if it's not updated, please, after you hop off this today, immediately go and do it. People are definitely connecting with others right now because we're all in the house, right? It's easier to connect. It's easier to hop on a 15-minute Zoom versus trying to go get coffee in the middle of the day. I think find those people, reach out, introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Veronica. I just graduated from Baruch and I majored in XYZ. I'm looking for XYZ opportunities and would love to chat about, internal initiatives or company culture at insert company, right? Make sure it's super short too. I know a lot of the times we get kind of like scared when it comes to reaching out to new people, and you're like, okay, do I give them, my whole life story? Like, what do I actually say? I think your introduction needs to be like 4 sentence max or less, right? Give them exactly what they're looking to, make it clear, make it succinct, and make it to the point of exactly what they're asking or what you're asking for. And then I also think one thing that we also don't do is we say, hey, let's connect, or hey, let's meet up. What does that mean? Right? These people are super busy, and they'll likely take a meeting with you, but they need to know exactly what you want. And I think there's no issue with making an ask. Do not say anything vague like, let's connect, let's work. Say, hey, I'm really interested in social media. I see that you're a social media strategist. Would love to talk about your experience at the company. You told them what you wanted. It was very nice. It was very professional. They're going to get back to you because it was succinct, right? So I think the more you can do that, the better off. Develop those people to people connections, and you'll be better off.
Thank you.
I have a specific question piggybacking off of that. I always like kind of struggle with subject lines on emails. Do you have any advice there? Like what will actually get opened?
Yeah. I have the love-hate relationship with cold emails, period. I like connecting with people on LinkedIn because that's what it's made for. A lot of the times, if I get a cold email from someone I don't know, I'm going to be like, I don't know this person at all. How did they get my email? Ignore, right? Depending on who you're emailing, though, because if you're emailing, internship coordinator, hiring manager, that's different. So if you're doing cold email, I would only do it to those type of people. And then within the subject line, I typically call out specific roles that you're looking for. So social media coordinator introduction, or interested in current internship opportunities or entry level opportunities. Can we chat? Something like that. And from my experience, when I, graduated, I did get responses that way. But I would always say LinkedIn is going to be your first source. One, because if they don't know you, they can click your profile and now they have kind of a clear view of who you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just going off of that, you were saying like to utilize LinkedIn, but I've noticed that you can only like message people if you have like a premium account, unless like you ask to connect with them and then you can like leave them a message. So do you think like right now it would be beneficial to have a premium account so you can like send them those messages instead of having to like wait for them to connect with you? Because I've tried doing that and I like haven't gotten much luck with like sending a connection request.
Yeah. So here's the hack that I don't think people realize. I don't think that you have to purchase a premium account, especially right now. What you do is when you send that connection request, there's an option to message them or send a message with the request, right? Completely free. That's where you put your little 3-line sentence. Hey, is it Ellis?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Ellis, just graduated from this school, looking for new opportunities in X. Would you be open to connecting? When they accept it, then that's when you go into the messages and say, hey, thanks for accepting. Would you be free for a Zoom chat or whatever it is that you're asking for?
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To sort of build off of that, something I've struggled with is like maintaining a meaningful connection with like the people I do a call with. Like once you do the 15-minute call, how do you establish that relationship going forward and like maybe get a mentor in the industry?
Great question, because I love to tell people like when you meet people, it's not a one-time thing. Just because I met you once doesn't mean I'm going to give you a job. I need to like keep you top of mind. I think that first conversation, just as much as you want to tell them about you and all your accomplishments and what you're interested in, you need to listen to what they're interested in and where they need help. I always, no matter like if a person I talk to is a CEO or, someone still in high school, I end each conversation saying, how can I help you? All right. And I think just that question alone is going to get them interested in like, oh, nobody, typically nobody asks that. You just want something from me, but you're asking me, how can you help me? Right. So ask that question to see if there are opportunities. And if they, say, I just need introductions to whatever, or I want to get insights on something, do it and send it back to them, right? So they know that you're really about your word. And then what I typically do is you have to understand that relationship management is kind of like, I'm going to say client management, right? You need to be checking in with these people at least once a month, just saying, hey, I'm Jessie. We talked a while ago and, here's what's going on with me. What's going on with you, right? I think people don't think about those check-ins or understand the value in doing that. That's what's going to keep you top of mind for a lot of people.
Thank you.
So I got a private question. Would love to hear how you avoid burnout and keep focus. I don't think burnout is avoidable, especially when you start your career, right? Because you're in that hustle mentality. You have to prove yourself, especially in an advertising company. Like, you will, point blank period, you're gonna have really late nights where you're working until 12 to 1, just depending on, what your company is doing and interest and all that. I think as you get into the industry, it's okay for a little bit of that, but it starts getting crazy when you wake up and you're like, when you wake up on a Saturday and you're like, I don't want to go to work on Monday, right? That's ridiculous. So I think once things like get super, super bad like that, I think you have to understand, okay, this is the amount of time I'm willing to spend on, work, and this is what I need to spend on my life in order to be able to continually show up to work and do things at a high level that's going to be beneficial to myself, beneficial to my team, and beneficial to my company. That's super important. Two, I think it's important to find and hone in on things that make you happy. When you start a career, oftentimes you're like, my career is my life, and it can be, and definitely has been for me. But I think you have to find other things to do, like get off close to the computer, because we're on the computer all day, right? Is there, art supplies you can do to like paint? Do you go outside or inside and plant new flowers? Do something with your hands, because it's going to start making you think about different things and not just work, right? Those are my two ways to kind of like get over burnout. Understand that it happens. It's gonna happen. You can't really avoid it. But when you do start feeling it, understand that you have to make life changes so that you're not going into, a deep depression or hating your life.
I have a question. So let's say you have experience in a specific field, in music or whatever. When you're applying for a job in a cover letter, how do you make your experience translate to the position? Because you're supposed to show people what you've done. But if it's completely unrelated, even though they're all media, my question is, how do you make it translate well? Because with the other session we just had, Rebecca Jarvis talked about how it's actually really, it's actually a good thing to have experience in something completely different, because then that makes you stand out a bit more. But how do you actually show the recruiter that, is my question.
So I think there's not one straight answer to that, because it really depends on your experience, right? Two things. One, I think it's okay to have different cover letters, right? So if you have experience in like mostly music and you're applying to SoundCloud or something, or Spotify, you want to just focus on that. If you have experience in something else too, you want to make sure that the cover letter kind of just focus on that. You can have like a little line at the end that kind of talks about, the other thing, but focus on what the company cares about the most and get that out first, right? I also think that, this is my personal opinion, but I know recruiters who don't spend a lot of time on the cover letter, who probably won't even read it unless they look at the resume, see something interesting, and be like, oh, let me go look at the cover letter, right? A lot of companies aren't even requesting cover letters anymore. So while you make one, make it focused to the company, but remember that the interview process is where you really sell yourself and where you really talk about your variety of experiences. So don't feel like you have to get everything into that cover letter, because it's only like a really small piece of the interview process overall. I have a question. Looking for entry-level jobs often feels like you're sacrificing the things you want to do versus the things available to you with your current experience level. How much of the job hunt should be a balance of sticking to what you want and accepting that there's no such thing as a perfect job? Great question. Also depends on you as a person, right? You're gonna have to make a sacrifice, period, point blank period. We make sacrifices every day. I want to eat right now, but I can't because I'm talking to y'all, so even those small things are sacrifices. So it really depends on, what you're comfortable giving away. Like, are you comfortable working an always on job for 24 hours? Or are you more comfortable with something that's a little more balanced? Are you more comfortable working on a nonprofit team because it's smaller? Do you want to work at a larger corporation with thousands of people, et cetera, et cetera? I think a good task for you would be to write a list, right? Write a want list and a don't list, right? What is everything that you want in a company? That these are the non-negotiables. These companies have to have this, right? And then what are the things that you don't want? And you may not know what you don't want right now until you start doing the interviews or until you start looking at the job descriptions, and that's okay. As you come across that, jot it down. Like, I will absolutely not work at a company that doesn't have a woman in leadership, right? And once you're clear on all of that, your job hunt is going to be one, more focused, and then two, you're gonna kind of stand for something and what you want, and hopefully it'll lead you closer to the dream job. But understand also that your first job might not be your dream job. It depends on, what you have going on. I know some people may be mothers. Some people may have, family situations where they have to immediately start making money, and that's okay too. Get some experience and continue the job search until you find that thing that does fit you. But understand that everybody's journey is a little different too. And I think that's important to highlight.
Hey everyone, I'm Arnold. I just joined in I'm just be a work team. I mentioned in chat. So as a back actor, so I'm active filmmaker. So coming from a filmmaker perspective, until you're right that turns on break, but like I'm right now a freelancer looking for a temp job or part time to keep my income steady. So I have a question about upload career. How many breaks do you take? Like even though there's no hours, like because a couple of my friends I know go to work right now at my age, like 24, 25, like and like they're given time slot. You work asynchronously, not around the clock, your own pace. So how many breaks do you take even though you have a set time for work? Like how many breaks do you take? Breaks, yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, legally, you should
I'm more like a
take,
gig position, so legally, yeah.
yeah, legally, I think if you're working like an 8-hour day, you take two 15-minute breaks and like a 30-minute lunch, depending on the industry.
Mhm.
For media and advertising, it's going to be a lot different. You're going to eat at your desk and you're still going to be on. You may be able to walk away from your computer for a little bit. So it really just depends on the industry and, what you've agreed to with your boss, with your colleagues, and ensuring that
Okay.
when you are offline, other people kind of aren't suffering, because it's a team thing at the end. You can't just say, hey, I'm on break, so we missed the deadline, right? Communication is going to be super important.
Yeah. That's a key too. Because I said I came late. I'm on like WhatsApp group chat. Communication is
Mhm.
key in this industry. So in my experience, like it's kind of like 'cause your eyes get tired when you look at computer all day, especially in this pandemic. If work and stuff, it's like
Right.
you definitely need a break for sure. That's 100% real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think too, like,
Especially in the interim industry, no matter your set, you go and you work in the office, you definitely need a break
yeah,
because you
yeah,
gotta
it's
read
okay. It's okay to
job
walk away from
description.
your
Really,
computer. Exactly.
it's a
Exactly.
contract basically.
Exactly. 100%.
Mm, yes.
I think we have time for maybe
So
one more question.
thanks.
Um,
So
um,
so, so 3 breaks. So 3 breaks is reasonable for like a long work day, 3 or 4 breaks for work day.
yeah, but you like don't talk to your boss. Talk to
Yeah,
talk to the
boss.
company.
Yeah,
Don't take it
yeah.
from me. Yeah. But I would say like
Oh,
a
gotcha.
maximum of probably like 3.
Long hours.
Okay. I got one more question. We can actually take a few more questions, which is great. Okay, so my next question is, what are your tips for casual self-promotion? I hate the idea of bragging. Don't hate the idea of bragging. I had to get over this actually. You probably would never know this, but I am actually an introvert and I don't like talking to people that often. As the CEO of my own company, that changed because I'm the face and I have to sell it in order to make a living, right? I think that we have to get over feeling like because we talk about our accomplishments, it's bragging, right? It's flexing. Like if I was able to build a multi-billion-dollar campaign for Nike and it's on TV during Christmas, give me what I deserve. Give me my coins. That's how you make, advancement within your career. They have to know what you did. They have to know what clients you served on, right? There's nothing wrong with self promotions. Bragging becomes negative if you're putting other people down for some of the things that they've done, right? Surround yourself with people who are also accomplishing amazing things. Have your winner circle or winner's wall. If you don't feel comfortable, promoting it on social media or anything, just write down your wins and put it on the wall so you can see it, right? I think it's important to see how far you've come, and important for at least you to know like your subtle wins so that you can add them to your LinkedIn. You can add them to your cover letter. If you're writing it, you can talk to it during your interview. But it's super important to brag on yourself. Don't think that's a negative thing.
Hi, I have a question. Being that I'm assuming that you started working for somebody and now you're working from somebody for yourself. So you went from working for somebody and now you're working for yourself. Can you just tell us like how you had the confidence to say, okay, I could work for myself. I don't need to work for anybody else. Like, can you just explain like how the different emotions that you went through and the confidence that you had to really dig deep into to go from, okay, I'm leaving a job that I know I probably will get a paycheck from now I'm going to work for myself and just like, and know that I can do this. Like to know that you can actually like, have a career, just being your own boss.
Yeah. Confidence. I wouldn't say that that's what it was. I was once again working in advertising marketing, and I realized that I had a bigger purpose. While I love creating, campaigns for these billion-dollar brands and making them more money, my company is focused on ensuring that previously marginalized communities have access to opportunities in order to create generational wealth. And when I realized that that was my personal passion and my why, going to work every day, I was like, this is not it. Like, I'm getting paid, but this is just not what I'm passionate about. And then luckily, I had realized that a couple months before I quit. So I was able to save up some money so that when I quit, it wasn't me being in this frantic state about, okay, how am I going to, pay rent and handle all these responsibilities? I knew that I had 3 months runway to make something shake, right? Also, my first year of entrepreneurship was a hot mess. I didn't make any money. I was still freelancing, doing marketing contracts. So it was scary. I'm like, oh, I quit my job for what? I'm broke again, right? Like, this is not it. But I think a quote that I actually live by is it says, passion produces perseverance, right? When you're passionate about something, even if you don't immediately get the outcomes you're wanting, you're going to continue to persevere. You're going to iterate. You're going to say, okay, this is my vision, but people aren't buying into that. So how do I switch this up a bit while still maintaining my mission and still maintaining the core of what the company is so that I can, monetize this idea in order to survive, right? So the first 2 years, like, I didn't make any money. I just started making money in June, right? Which is crazy. And it's a long process. It's hard. You just have to persevere. And then one day you're gonna wake up and be like, oh my God, I made so much money. Now I have, 10 employees. Now I'm doing all this stuff. I'm working with these super huge clients. And it was all for something, right? One day it just kind of turns around. So I think when you do find that one thing that you're passionate about, you'll feel it in your soul. You won't even have to ask people like, do I keep my job or do I quit it? It's going to be this intuition thing. And I always like to stress a woman's intuition. We feel things and sometimes we like to give into it and sometimes we ignore it. And then we're like, I knew it at the end of the day, right? So listen to that. And that's going to really guide you and ensure that one, you're doing the right thing for the universe, but also ensure that you have the right skills in order to complete it too. And if you don't, make sure you bring the right people on your team that do. Hopefully I answered it.
Thank you.
So,
yeah,
you're
thank
welcome.
you. Great.
Another question. Hello. I recently started working as a PA. I'm going to assume that means production assistant. Give me a thumbs. Okay. For an animated children's television company. How would you recommend making your goals known when working remotely and not having the advantage of seeing people in person? Girl. Once again, email people. Set up like 15-minute coffee chats, right? Hey, I just started. I just want to get to know the team a little bit more. I'm super excited about this industry. I know you've been here for a while. Can we set up time to chat about your experience? Period. people are going to talk to you. They may not right now because December, people are just running to Christmas. So maybe this is something you kind of start in January. But just be authentic with reaching out. Don't take up too much time, 15 minutes. Be sure you have, specific questions or things that you want to talk about. So it's not like a tell me about yourself type of conversation. And then, like I told Jesse earlier, make sure that you're continually following up. Like on a monthly cadence at minimum. But if you have, group chats or anything and you see something funny or you see something from your conversation somewhere out in the world, just shoot it to them, send it to them. Maintain communication. That's super important. Cool. How can you work remotely in producing? I have no business degrees. That I do not know. I am not a production person. I've never ever worked in production. So I think I don't even I can't even answer that question. I'm not gonna give you any advice. I don't know. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. Another question: how has your community and types of relationships shifted from your previous career roles now to being CEO and founder of Connect? Here's the thing about my career journey, right? I worked in PR, marketing, and advertising, all things you need in order to grow and scale a business, right? So a lot of the people that I met in my first half of my life and career are still some of my closest friends today because I'm giving them bags, money to do stuff for me now. So I always give back and remember and uplift the people that kind of were in the trenches with you and some of these other opportunities, right? I think that now my circle has kind of changed. I'm talking to more, founders, more CEOs, more people working in diversity, equity, and inclusion because that's my space, right? I think it's super important to one, maintain old relationships, but two, always grow relationships. I know this is probably just like a Twitter thing, but there was a time when Twitter was like, it was a Drake song, no new friends, no new friends, no new friends. You need to have new friends, right? That's the only way that you can grow in your career. There's going to be so many opportunities from people that you have not met in life just yet. So it's always important to be growing those networks and relationships and going to different conferences, going to different, well, pre-COVID, now everything's online, but digital conferences, digital workshops, digital classes where you can meet people in other aspects of things that you're interested in so that you can start building those relationships. Can you talk at all about transferable skills you learned from your early days in PR? I'm working in PR now and I don't love it. Me neither, girl. So I'm looking for advice about how to pitch myself to new industries within the comms field. Transferable skills with PR for me have been writing. You write a lot, pitching. You should be comfortable pitching just about anything, even yourself. And then talking. Like I said, I'm an introvert. I don't really like talking to people. You can't tell, right? Because I talk to a lot of people when I worked in PR. So communicative, overachiever. You had to hustle to get some of those press hits, et cetera, et cetera. I also think that if you still want to work in the comms field as a whole, maybe look, I don't know if you work at a PR specific agency or if you're just in a PR department. But if you want to go to another company and just work in PR and comms, look at that too. Like I know when I first started and I was like, I want to be a publicist, I only looked at PR agencies versus I can be, in the comms team at Spotify or at Apple or whatever. So I think that there are a lot of different opportunities and these roles are going to vary. Some will be a lot more creative. Some will be like, yeah, I'm in comms, but I do social media and marketing too. Or some are just like, all I do is sit here and write press hits or try to get press hits all day. It depends on what you're interested in. So once again, write down that what I want, what I don't want list too. And then just kind of be open to looking at what these roles look like in a variety of different companies, not just in the PR industry. How much time do I have? Hold on one moment, y'all. 2:37. Okay, 2 minutes. I'm gonna try to answer these last two questions. Can you walk us through the salary negotiation process for an entry-level position straight out of college? There tends to be a fixed amount for each cohort. How do you leverage talking about your value proposition if this will be your first full-time job? So you're going to run into companies to say, hey, we pay, entry-level people $30,000. And that's something that you're gonna have to consider in your do's and your don'ts list, right? Some companies are gonna be more flexible. If you're looking to be paid at a higher rate, you may go for like more of a tech company or more of like a startup versus, you know, an old PR agency, because older PR agencies are gonna be like, we paid publicity assistants $30,000 for years, and they come and they work for us because they know that you need that experience working with some of their high level clients, right? And sometimes it's okay to take that lower paying job to say, okay, I worked with Nike, NBA, et cetera, and now I can go and get paid what I'm worth. Sometimes you need that experience. Sometimes experience is better than money. Add that to your list. Is money more important, or is experience more important? Are brand name clients more important, or do you want to work more in a startup environment? All things to consider, and all come with different starting salaries overall. Once again, do the research though, like go on salary.com, go on Glassdoor, look at your specific geographical location, see what the median salary is. If they try to go lower than that, talk to them about it. If they can raise it, great. If they can't, something that you're gonna have to either sacrifice or move on from. Last question. The advertising and PR departments are closely related and work a lot together at my university. What did you dislike about PR, and what drew you to advertising instead? At PR, I felt like it became repetitive. Like I was doing the same thing every day. And sometimes press hits are like, you have the relationship or you don't. They're going to write about it or they're not, right? PR is all about relationships. The more relationships you have, you know, the more press hits you're going to get. If you don't have any relationships, you're probably not going to get anything. And I felt like it was less about skill and more about who you knew, which I didn't kind of like. I also wanted to be more creative. I wanted to build campaigns and do cool shit in the world that everybody would see. Right. When I told people I was a publicist, they were like, what? So you write news articles? No, but I do the behind the scenes to get it done. When I say, hey, I did that TV commercial, they're like, oh, you make ads. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. So that's kind of what excited me, working with clients where I was actually able to see the work I produced in larger mediums versus like this news article type of thing. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back to Holiday to kind of sign off, but if we have more time after that, I am definitely still happy to stay and answer questions.